Alright, so full preview of the patch. Yesterday we did the one without numbers, now numbers are out. So let's see what Riot has to say about the next patch. So we have item systems. After taking some deeper look at the item systems, we think that some of the systematic effects powering Storm Surge are over the line, mainly loot and single target damage. We're looking to keep these burst items mostly power neutral, but distribute power away from the upfront damage procs. For Liandry's, some of the off-tank AP junglers, Udyr, Zac, and Mumu, are not feeling the AP nerfs, due to the monster damage on the burn being unchanged. It's a noticeable spike in clear split while I'm finishing Liandry, and while Liandry looks good for non-junglers, it's over the line for this type of champion specifically and is being brought down. To me, it's pretty crazy that in a long time, we have AD meta in jungle right now. Obviously, some AP champions are also viable, right? And like a couple of months ago, we had Zyra, Brand, Nidalee meta, right? Only AP junglers, nothing else with AD Smith. But back then, when AP junglers were being played 100% of time, they didn't nerf Liandry, they didn't nerf Faded Ashes. Now though, like now, when AP junglers are not even being played 100% of time, now they're nerfing Liandry. Like, really? For AD items, we're moving Infinity clearly out of the first and second item space by increasing the gold cost gap to other lower cost AD crit options like Yuntal, Essence Seaver, and Collector. Okay. On 14.18, the comparisons were too mathy, leading to unclear signaling on which items players are meant to buy, and difficulties in balancing across many different audiences. Okay, whatever. I don't know what that means. Eclipse users like Lee, Pantheon, Riven are being compensated and turned around this current version of Eclipse. Tuned around this current version of Eclipse. Mostly straightforward buffs with Pantheon buffs skewed towards top lane with percent HP lever. Collector users. Collector is receiving a net buff, but still the champions received a bigger hit than what Collector is being compensated for. Buffs to Caitlyn, Aphelios as a result. We also know that this will be a relatively buff to Jhin for normal play as Shiv is being nerfed and Collector is being buffed. So we're putting in a small compensation to Jhin, who even prior to this patch was creeping up to be one of the top champions in the role. Okay. Melee crit, for Yon, Yasuo, Tryndamere, some of their items were nerfed pretty hard, especially for regular play and Bork and Infinity in particular. Okay, so my experience is that Bork feels amazing on Yon and Yasuo. I get that the item lost 10 AD, but all other items lost the same amount, if not more stats. So I don't really understand the Bork nerf. Yes, the Infinity nerf was pretty bad, I agree with that, for Yon, Yasuo, and Tryndamere. Tryndamere for sure suffered way more compared to any of these champions, compared to Yon, Yasuo. But yeah, I don't really know, like the Bork, I don't agree. In addition, even on the previous patch, Wind Bros were frequently opting out of crit. Yeah, that is true. The build that got very popular was Bork and Shardbreaker, but this build is not very good this patch anymore, because Shardbreaker received a big hit while Shieldbow didn't. The item systems for melee crit users don't feel great currently and needs follow-up, but in the meantime giving them a bit of power. Okay. Pope and Skarner have been receiving a lot of attention recently, particularly in pro play. Pope in particular has really caught on in support and jungle due to a few enthusiasts, and her damage values, especially with Bloodsong, are feeling over the line. Yes, okay. So I do want to say that I've seen multiple variants of Poppy support in solo queue, where people go Electrocute, people go Halo Blades. Some people literally, last patch, like before this patch, rushed Eclipse Poppy support, like full lethality Poppy support. This champion does way too much damage. I mean, if you just read her numbers, the way like her Q does way too much damage, her base damages are ridiculous, her scales are really good with AD, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's a little bit XD. And the same goes for Skarner. Skarner is just buying full tank items, kind of like Mundo, and he's just one-shotting people. Mundo, Mord, Shyvana, Sinch, Udyr, Veigar. This catch-all category of champions have either benefited from not being as easy to burst after everyone does less damage, Sinch, Udyr, Mundo, and are finding it much easier to execute their game plan, or just benefit from not being able to die as easily and get to scale for free, Veigar and Mundo. Yes, I agree with that. Obviously, there's more reasonings to this. He just listed like one reasoning, but the thing is like a champ like Udyr also benefits, a champ like Sinch and Mundo also benefit. The same reason is because also of their items and the way their gameplay pattern is, which is like sustained damage, is just really good with the changes that happen to items. Okay, so now let's go over the numbers. So first of all, Aphelios will get 20 HP, and passive bonus AD is going to go from 4.5 to 27 to 5 to 30. I mean, it's a nice buff. I definitely think Aphelios needs more damage and more durability. Probably more on the durability side than the damage side, because the champion gets kind of one-shot by everything. However, are these buffs enough? No, not really. I don't see how. I don't think anybody's playing Aphelios after these buffs. This is way too little for this champion. Then we have Caitlyn. Caitlyn gets attack speed ratio up just a little bit and Q secondary damage up just a little bit. So attack speed ratio on Caitlyn already got buffed like 3 times by now, which is very interesting. Caitlyn is slowly transitioning from not being like too much into the sniper identity anymore, because she's supposed to have slow attacks, but the attacks are supposed to punch a lot, right? Like a sniper. But in any case, I think these buffs are very, very small. Like, come on. This is such a small buff. This is such a small buff. Like, both of these buffs. I don't think people are gonna really play Caitlyn really much. Corki, mana on Q goes down by 20. They already, I think, buffed the Q damage up like 2 patches ago, right? W damage will go up by 150% bonus AD. Wow. So I'm kind of wondering if there's going to be now a Corki playstyle that someone in Silver is going to invent, where you max W and the way you kill people is with this massive nuke of a spell. You just stack raw AD and you W over your people. That would be kind of funny. But obviously in high elo, you're still gonna obviously max Q into E into W. It's a slight buff. It's mainly early mid game buff, honestly, because late game you're never really doubling over people. This happens more in early game. And then E mana is also gonna go down by 20 at max rank. So honestly, the only real thing that Corki is getting here are like nicer mana costs, especially in early game. I fail really to see that people are gonna really play Corki. It's like nice for solo queue, it's nice for Corki OTPs, but it's not enough to make him really viable, I think. Lee Sin, I think, is getting a very, very big buff. We all know that when champions get free AD buffs, that these are massive buffs to champions in general. This is really big for Lee. I wouldn't be surprised if this buff is alone to like push him into the meta. Pantheon W max HP damage up by 1%. It's like nice, but the buff is also very small in my opinion. It's like nice, and I agree that it's top lane skewed, right? Because percent HP is more valuable in top lane than other roles. It is still a mid lane Pantheon buff. It's still a jungle Pantheon buff. But I still think probably a little bit too little for this champion to really push him into like being good. Riven, Q damage. 1595, 50% to 70% total AD to 45, 165, 65 to 80%, 85% bonus AD. So wow. So I probably like, I think this is probably just a buff at every level. This is kind of like the Varus change they did. Like Varus also had like total AD scale on Q, right? And then they buffed it to bonus AD scale and buffed the base damage a lot. And then Lethality Varus became like OP for a patch. Yeah, I mean, honestly, massive Riven buff. I think it's like a fair buff, I guess. Maybe it's a bit too much, we'll see though, but at least it's like an ability that she has to kind of use aggressively, right? Because if she's using it to catch you, then she's wasting stacks and she's not really doing any damage to you, so it's kind of like makes sense that they're buffing Q over something else, I would say. Tryndamere attack speed ratio goes up a little bit, which kind of compensates for the fact that Berserkers have gotten a lot worse for Tryndamere because of double Berserker nerfs. And armor growth up by 0.5. I mean, okay, very, very little Tryndamere buffs, like very small, very generic, very low elo skewed because they're scaling buffs. Then we have Yasuo and Yon. Yasuo and Yon are both receiving 10% Q crit damage, and our bonus armor pen on crit on Yasuo will go up to 60%. It's like an alright Yasuo buff and Yon buff. This will further push Yon and Yasuo players to buy Bork into Shieldbow and not Bork into Shite. I already think Bork into Shieldbow is a better build. I fail to see any reason why people are building Shite. I think it's just wrong if you're a good Yasuo player. I think the Yon buff probably shouldn't be happening. The Yasuo buff is understandable, I think. Yeah, whatever. Not much to say. Dr. Mundo, E max HP into bonus AD is getting further nerfed. So if I take you back in time, this ability actually used to be 4%, okay? So right now it's 3.4, but I'm pretty sure in the past it was 4%. So yeah, this ability is getting continuously nerfed. This is like the lever that Riot uses to nerf Mundo, because I think this is like a low elo skew lever, right? Mundo is usually more of a low elo OP champion. And this is like a scaling lever, and this is why they always nerf this ability. Because this is just basically free gold. This ability just is free scaling gold is basically this ability. Jhin AD growth down by 0.3, R base damage down by a lot on rank 2 and rank 3. I can definitely appreciate the fact that Jhin ultimate is getting nerfed, because I genuinely think this ultimate is way too good. The amount of times that like Jhin ult can literally just kill champions. Like there's 60% HP, this champ just ults you at like level 11, and then if he lands like 3 or 4 shots, you can just die. This ability is for sure doing way too much damage, considering players have also gotten a lot better at landing Jhin ult, and there's less move speed in the game, so now it's even easier to land it. I think understandable nerf. I think Jhin is probably still going to be okay, playable. Maybe not the best ADC in the game, but still pretty good. Then we have Mordekaiser. Q isolation damage down by 10%. Yeah, I mean, we don't really care about Mord. Mord is just a low elo noob stomper, right? It's like a fine nerf. She's still going to be one of the best champs in low elo. Poppy passive cooldown up by 3 seconds, level 1, level 2, 2 seconds, level 3, 1 second. Q monster cap damage up by 20. E base damage down by 10. So the E base damage and the passive cooldown is like nice nerfs. They affect Poppy support for sure more than Poppy top lane. The Q monster cap is like also a pretty good buff to Poppy jungle, because this will increase clear speed a lot. Yeah, it's like alright, but I think Poppy will still kind of be playable. Like I fail to see, like, this will not kill the champion. It's just that she's worse in situations where you're not getting value out of picking her. Shyvana W move speed AP ratio down by 2%. RE ground DPS down by 20. So that's like when you ult and then you E, and then there's like a flame on the ground, a lot less burn damage per second. And then R damage AP ratio down by 50%. I kind of fail to see what this does to Shyvana. Almost fucking nothing. I really fail to see. Like the biggest nerf is probably just RE ground DPS going down. But then again, like the initially the E hitting you with massive nuke is not getting changed, right? And I fail to see what this will do. I really do think Riot is probably going to have to nerf Shyvana again, because this just seems to be such little buff nerf in my opinion for low elo players. I think they completely failed the levers here to try to make Shyvana just worse in low elo, but not as worse in high elo. Singed. Like, it's like R damage AP ratio, like what is this? This, like, good players are hitting R more than low elo players, no? Like, I don't know, weird. Singe, armor growth, down by 0.5. Yeah, okay, well. Bigger nerf for low elo players, nothing really here to say. Singe is still fine. Skarner, passive max HP damage down by 2% at max rank, so this is, I think, scaling per level, so it's like a late game nerf. E damage 30 to 150. 8% Skarner max HP Q to 6%. This is like a pretty good nerf, right? Because Skarner right now, build-wise, builds a lot of HP, so like percent health scaling nerfs are pretty good here. Alright, less damage for Skarner. I definitely can appreciate Riot hitting Skarner's damage. I think they shouldn't be really making the champion less tanky or removing the utility of the champion. That's kind of the shank, right? He just shouldn't be one-shotting people as a tank, and I kind of like that they're going after damage here. Udyr. QQ monster bonus damage will go down by 5. E move speed will go down by 5%. 10% at max rank. RR monster damage will go down by 25. So, okay, Udyr's clear speed is getting nerfed. However, these nerfs don't do anything but clear speed nerfs. And I truly do think that Udyr in general just jungles too fast right now anyway. And once he gets like Fated Ashes and Lianji, he kills camps fast anyway. So I'm kind of failing to see what this nerf is going to do. Yes, it's going to nerf his win rate a little bit. And yes, the champion will be a little bit worse, but still way too OP. Like what? Still going to be one of the best junglers in solo queue. I just don't see how this is like close to enough. Veigar WAP ratio 70 to 110 to 60 to 100. So Veigar WAP ratio used to be 100% at rank 1, by the way. Now it's 60% at rank 1, 100% at rank 5.
Do you think mid lane meta will change for main event or stay the same than play in?
So Veigar's gonna be fine. This is a bigger nerf for low elo players because this ability is very low elo skewed, but in any case, the reality is that Veigar is going to be fine. I think right now he just benefits a lot from the patch and the way items and runes are, so this nerf will not kill Veigar, and I think we're going to have one more patch of being able to play Veigar. It wouldn't surprise me if Riot nerfs him again. Nimbus Cloak is up by 2% to 5%. It's an alright buff. I'm not really sure who uses Nimbus Cloak besides like someone like Galio. Okay, let me pick a champion. Kind of feel like playing Ahri. Or maybe wait, they have a Lux. It could be locksmith. Okay. The Collector. Okay, here we have the big AD changes. Collector losing, gonna be 450 gold last expansive and is losing 10 AD. Definitely a buff to the item, because 10 AD is worth 350 gold, so it's a buff to the item. You're gonna be able to buy this first on a lot of champions. You also get the passive faster into the game. A really nice buff. Yuntal Wild Arrows are also going to be 350 gold cheaper. I think if I'm doing the math right. No, it's 250 gold cheaper. But AD, we're losing 5 AD and bleed is going down by 10. This item is garbage. It is so fucking bad. I don't think this does anything. I think everybody who rushes this item instead of Collector or any other choice is trolling. There's no reason to ever buy this. This is crap item. Tormail seems to be one of the bigger winners of the patch. Armor down by 5, Thorns damage down, up early, down late by bonus armor. Probably bigger nerf to Ramos more than anything, but okay, totally fine nerf. Static Shoe, I actually thought it was getting buffed yesterday. I'm glad it's not, because I think it's much better than Kraken, but then again, I'm not really sure if it deserves a nerf either. Static Shoe is gonna lose 5% attack speed. I don't think it's the end of the world, especially because a lot of Static Shoe,
Hey Neymar, have you...
Sorry, I'm doing this. A lot of Static Shoe champions overstack attack speed, right? So I don't think this is the end of the world for Static Shoe users for the most part, like Kai'Sa and Kog'Maw and stuff. I guess Kog'Maw not, but Kai'Sa and whatever else. So, Grasp of the Undying is finally getting the nerf. This keystone's been OP for a long time. Health goes to 1.3% max health, but loses the base value, so it's an early game nerf, late game buff as far as I understand it, but max HP per stack will go down by a lot. Wow, this is a massive nerf to Grasp. You're going to be losing probably between 20 to 50 less health on average per game. Wow, crazy. Fated Ashes, monster DPS is going to go down. Wow, Riot is actually finally nerfing this item. Crazy. Still gonna be pretty good though for AP junglers. Still gonna be buying this. Leandri's Torment is losing 10 DPS on monster. Okay, not bad. AP junglers are losing more clear speed. The meta is getting pushed more into AP junglers. Luden's Companion. Okay, so this is one of the biggest... Oh, I have arguing with him. This is one of the biggest changes of the patch. The fire damage of Luden's is basically going to be from 210 to 150 plus 10% HP. This item is getting nuked. Nuked. This is a massive nerf to Xerath, Syndra, LeBlanc. Some champions are going to be able to go alternatives. So Xerath is a really good torch abuser. So Xerath can go torch, okay? Syndra, I don't think has a good alternative. LeBlanc, I don't think has a good alternative. This item is getting nuked, I think, here. And I do think that this Luden's Companion, like, passive damage was way too OP. It was way too OP. But I think Riot should, like, buff some of the stats on the item. Storm Surge losing 5 AP and Squall damage going down a little bit. Not the end of the world, to be honest. You're kind of buying this item for stats, not so much for the passive. I don't think this is the end of the world for Storm Surge. And that's kind of it. And then there's some, like, rune tooltips. Overall, like, it's a fine patch, but once again, we're missing a lot of champ buffs, champ nerfs. The game will still be very unbalanced. We need more changes. Okay, cool. They also removes a lot of champions from the patch. I think there was like a Xayah buff that was supposed to be happening, and they didn't put that one in either. Maybe some other champs that I'm not remembering. Okay, I gotta play now, and I'll answer this out.